fascinating time for Trump and his administration to be creating this problem to begin with, right? 5 months out of the election, as a sitting president, you should be trying to solidify your legacy of accomplishments, and you should be focused on the campaign trail since you're under re-election. The fact that Barr really went after Berman and the Southern District of New York implies that the president is deeply worried about legal complications and legal action being taken against him, not just now, but potentially after the election. And that just tells you about the paranoia that surrounds the White House these days, but also potentially about what they might be able to uncover. The Southern District of New York has always been a thorn in President Trump's side, given the fact that most of his businesses have been run out of that city. I think that's going to be the challenge of the fact that we have Democrats in control of Congress and we have Republicans in control of the Senate. And ultimately, there's federal action is needed and necessary. It's gaining momentum given all the pressure on the streets, and that pressure will continue. But there is certainly a role here to change the culture at the heart and the root of the challenges we have in our local police departments and also at the state level. And that's the fact that absent changing use of force, absent a fundamental change in how police unions operate, the culture in individual police departments will not change despite our best efforts at federal legislation, right? Culture is the hardest thing to change in any organization. Police unions, instead of looking out to protect and underscore the value of engaging with communities and making sure police are safe, instead advocate for the use of military equipment. They fundamentally act like a lobbying group to turn our police into a local military force. That's the challenge that we face, and it's going to require federal, local, and state-based action. Well, I think this upcoming week is when we'll start to see whether or not this is truly a politicized court or a court that is going to be upholding the rule of law. And we know that Republicans and the GOP and conservative movements in general have really focused on abortion and undermining Roe v. Wade and abortion rights at the state and local level. This is a big campaign issue for many, many members of that side of the party. And looking at Mitch McConnell and how he's framed even questions to judges and how the Republicans on the panels have refused to really force nominees across the federal bench to answer the question of, is this settled law? That also applies now to Brown versus Board of Education, right? They are trying to revisit what we've known as settled law, and they demur until they get onto the court and start to make extreme decisions. If this does end up being, this coming week, a more political reading of the Constitution, then that gives credence to a lot of what you hear on the left and the Democratic side of the need for court reform and just start playing political strategies with the Supreme Court nominees, with the court in general, because unfortunately Democrats have been on the back foot on that in the last decade or so compared to the Republican Party.